Everyone, I'm Danielle Byington, your English instructor for Composition 1, English 1010. And in this video, I'm going to quickly go over your definition essay assignment. This is the last essay that you do in this class. As I addressed in the email when we started the definition unit a few days ago, this essay is about incorporating those other techniques that we've done over the semester. So you've learned a narrative style of writing. You've done compare contrast in the cultural intersections essay and descriptive unbiased writing in the aesthetic response essay. So the idea with composition 1 is that you're taking different tools of writing, different styles of writing like that, and learning how to use all of them as one in your other essays as you go throughout college. So just to point out where this is, when you are in the course and you're in the content tab, then if you scroll down to definition unit 4, it is just right there. If I need to add anything else to it, to this particular submodule, I will let you know. But all the other tools they're in your other units, like the video on reminding you how to use the OneSearch tool on the ETSU library's website, things like that. Like, you have been learning those as you go, but if you need a refresher, just click back into a previous unit. And also things like that are down at the bottom in the writing assistance materials module. So when I go to that definition essay assignment, I'll have a brief description about what that's like. And so, ironically, I suppose it's kind of frowned upon to insert a definition, like, quote, a dictionary or something in a formal essay, if it's something kind of obvious about what it is. In this case, I think it's acceptable, but the thing is that you're not going to be able to write a 1,500 to 1,700 word paper with just doing that. Please don't, because that's not you exercising your analytical skills about defining an abstract concept. So you are limited to what you can choose from, and I'll explain something about two of these choices here. So in the definition unit itself, I'm going to go to the sketchbook. So your choices are based on the sorts of themes that are assigned each week in the definition unit. So you can choose from love, beauty, violence and mortality, which it used to be another week of reading, just depending on the way the schedule throughout the 15 weeks of the semester fell. We ended up removing those, but I like to keep those as choices because I've had some good essays written from students on those topics. So I'm going to leave those as choices, even though they weren't exactly one of the options assigned in one of the weeks of readings and videos. So understanding and insight, knowledge, which kind of falls under the umbrella of understanding and insight, living, happiness, human or humanity. Now, some of these so for example, 2 of them were assigned in the same week. If you feel like you want to write an essay that's exploring both of those simultaneously because the way you want to approach it, you think they really overlap with each other a lot, I'm open to that. You are allowed to do that. Another one, like understanding, insight, and knowledge. If you're wanting to approach all of those together as one sum, that's acceptable. So if you want to do just one, you want to just define living, that's fine. Okay, I have a sort of rough layout of what your sections should include. And you're going to have to give me an example from history It helps you define whichever of these abstract ideas you choose. If it's love, give me an example of a scenario of of love, whether you're talking about something that worked out or didn't work out, or the way people thought about love at a particular time or in a particular culture. You are also going to give an example from literature or the arts in general. So, love, to use that example again, if you talked about love, maybe you would talk about a poem, or if it's the arts in general, maybe it's music, maybe it's a film. Also, I believe in, I'm open to extending arts in general. So that can be things like athletics and such. So also you're going to give me an example from popular culture or current events. It doesn't have to be something really mainstream that everyone has heard about, but but just make sure you're not picking something so obscure it's kind of questionable about why that even fits. Okay, and your objectives for this assignment, same thing as before on the first few. So give me a thesis statement. We're working on this. Make sure you have looked at feedback in your past essays. If I might have marked something you wrote and tried to give you tips on how to write it better, how to make a better thesis statement. And same for your topic sentences. Now you're going to give me two sources. You're going to use two sources in this essay that come from your use of the ETSU library. So you're going to use OneSearch, and you're going to quote from it, and you're going to cite it in a works cited page at the end. Now I have a link there so you can see the whole MLA guide, what that should look like. And as far as finding your sources in the ETSU OneSearch tool on the ETSU Library's website, the most common issue students come to me with is, I can't find a source that's about the way I'm writing about this word. Just remember, this whole idea here is you're learning how to back the lens out and think analytically outside the box. So if you're typing in just something about with two words, you're using two keywords about love and beauty, you're going to get so many results that don't even apply to what you're doing probably. So you've got to learn how to experiment with different phrasings and different keywords added to that search. That way you're backing the lens out so you can see some other options and not get stuck in this like really specific kind of category of what you're typing in with one or two words, because it's not a good way to search for sources. You're also going to use at least one more. That being said, you are allowed to use more sources than what I'm requiring here. This is just what I will be grading for. Your two sources from the ETSU library website, or physical books are fine too. No one ever does that anymore. And one source that has to do with what you're talking about, that it can be a reading or a video that I assigned on that particular week in the definition unit, or if that doesn't really apply to the way you are approaching your definition, you can use a news story. Just make sure it's not really biased on one side or the other. It just is talking about the thing you're talking about. And that would be fine as an example. So that's how you're going to find, you're going to, like, it's just kind of open on that last one. It's not limited to the ETSU library website like those first two are. On this one, for some people, that's a learning process of what's acceptable and what isn't. If you are unsure, you can always ask me, and I can help you find sources as well if that's something you're struggling with. Again, it's like always, it's always MLA formatting. A lot of you have done really well with that throughout the semester. But if, again, in your feedback in past essays or assignments, if I marked something that says, hey, you need to do this to make it proper MLA formatting, make sure you are doing that in this final essay. I have this similar disclaimer here in the end about ways you might not want to approach, or like, please don't approach your topic with things talking about abortion, gun rights reform, or legalizing drugs, or talking about politics slash politicians that are from the past 20, the most recent 20 years. You can talk about those things if it's 20 years ago and back. So that way we avoid you accidentally using pathos a little too much in the way that you were talking about your topic. So that is it for your definition essay assignment. Please feel free to contact me if you're not really understanding what this whole like defining an abstract word from this list is about. All right. Okay, thank you.